The idea of strength is generally associated with how much weight an individual can move or support. There are three main factors that are responsible: physiological strength, neurological strength, and mechanical strength. The purpose of this video is to focus on the physiological aspect of strength and show the direct connections between the changes of the muscle at the cellular level and how those muscle adaptations manifest at the macro level. The general strength of a muscle in relation to the amount of force it can apply on the skeleton can depend on several factors: the cross-sectional area, the shortening speed, and the length of each muscle fiber. These macro factors of muscle are caused by tubular cells called myocytes, or muscle fibers. These cells contain many chains of myofibrils that are composed of long proteins like actin, myosin, and titin, and others that form multiple complexes that lock them together. These proteins are organized into thin filaments and thick filaments, which repeat along the length of the myofibril sections called sarcomeres. Muscles contract by sliding the thin, called actin, and the thick myosin filaments along each other. Myosin is held in place by titin filaments and is responsible for force generation. It is composed of a globular head with both ATP and actin binding sites, as well as a long tail involved in its polymerization into myosin filaments. The myosin heads form cross bridges with the actin myofilaments. This is where they carry out a rowing action along with the actin. These characteristics vary greatly between the two main types of skeletal muscle. In order to highlight the contrast between the two muscle types, we will compare differences in tuna and halibut muscle. Tuna represents type 1, or slow twitch muscle, which is generally red and is dense with capillaries to rapidly deliver more oxygen and supportive fats or carbohydrates to the individual cell. This enables the muscle to contract over a long period of time. This, however, decreases overall muscle density and strength due to the additional supportive structures. Type 2, or fast twitch muscles, are mainly white in color as shown in the halibut and will contract quickly with great force. This happens because of the higher fiber density at the cost of little to no supportive structures, which causes the muscle to fatigue rapidly due to the anaerobic byproducts of the cell. Humans are genetically predisposed to one type of muscle group or the other. Generally, an individual with more type 1 muscle would be more suited for endurance events such as triathletes, while the individual with more type 2 muscle will be better at lifting weights. However, this is not always the case, as individuals can further train their bodies, altering their natural predispositions. Though not the best example, if we were to look at a salmon muscle, we would notice a more mild color and bands of fatty tissues that develop their muscle in ways to survive the trials of spawning. Due to both the demand for powerful short bursts as well as endurance, humans comparably alter their muscle to survive difficult conditions. Through sarcoplasmic hypertrophy training, which involves multiple contractions of a given muscle, an individual can increase their cell volume as it accommodates for more ATP supporting structures. This is best highlighted by Dean Karnazes, who has a natural body of type 2 muscles, but has trained himself to be able to run non-stop indefinitely up to 3 days and nights. He has been able to train himself to run through marathons of the worst climate conditions. Another technique is sarcomere hypertrophy training, which is when the individual muscle is overloaded and micro tears form in its fibers. During the rebuilding cycle, the muscle will increase fiber density in those locations. This technique is best shown in Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is recognized as the greatest bodybuilder of all time. He naturally has type 1 muscle, yet trained them in a way to grow, which resulted in him having large, dominant, inflated muscle in contrast to his body type. The ratio between one's natural genetic orientation and the degree to which that individual trains determines overall body type and strength. The last two examples highlight this genetic variability of the same extreme, where the modern bodybuilder is compared to the modern strongman. Both of these examples manipulate both training strategies, however focusing on one over the other coupled with genetics. In conclusion, since force can be defined as weight moved over a period of time, then strength is then a factor of time in which two body types emerge to represent the two poles of our physical limitations. This is an advantage as opposed to the singular